On the 9th of March, the Rhodes Must Fall protest movement began. It was directed against a statue at the University of Cape Town that honors Cecil John Rhodes. For a month, the students marched through the streets of Cape Town, demanding the statue to be removed. It gave rise to the Rhodes University students' protest about the name change and the issues surrounding transformation within the institution.
Because a lot of us who had felt marginalized and isolated from this institution for so long finally found ourselves around people who shared similar struggles. And we realized that, hey, I'm not the only person who's feeling like this space is not my space. I'm not the only person who has experienced the kinds of very violent, white normative practices that occur at Rhodes University. I'm not the only person who feels like there's something wrong with the curriculum.
And I'm reminded that I don't belong. I walk these fucking streets and I sit in those libraries and I cannot access certain things because what? I'm fucking black.
Recently, the Black Students Movement occupied the council chambers of the university. This is an organization that was born from personal experiences of being marginalized. Therefore, the students came together to express themselves on how they feel about these issues. At the heart of the debate, the issues of transformation and the environment that is class-based and oppressive was discussed. We speak to various students about their views on the organization and its method of protesting.
I think here at Rhodes University, they've been misunderstood because most people only just see it as vandalism.
At first, I thought they were like a bunch of rebels who just didn't want to listen to anyone, who were just trying to get into the limelight with the whole thing. Because when it all started off with the media, I was reading on the media that they making noise outside the library. They disrupting people and whatnot. So the media sort of made them look like they bad.
The BSM has played a very important role at Rhodes University. And even if at times its role may have been to create irritation, that is still something very important.
What the BSM does is that it makes people uncomfortable. And when you make someone uncomfortable, that's when those people actually start to think, oh my gosh, okay, Nancy, this is happening.
The university's registrar has labeled the movement to be disruptive and silly. However, this has not affected BSM in any way, as it continues to decolonize the institution and speak to students who may also have turned a blind eye on these matters.
Their mantra is sort of clear that they want this institution to be transformed, and they really care about the well-being of the students in general, not just black students, but students who are sort of unable to afford this university.
If they had just gone the formal route and papers and whatever, it wouldn't have got as much traction as the movement's got now. So I think it's good that they're getting traction. They haven't broken any property, they haven't done any harm.
The tactics must not be viewed as an end in themselves, rather a means to achieving something.
It forced the SRC institution at that time, under the leadership of Makubo, to call a student body meeting, right? So BSM was the one that said we are going to engage the Vice Chancellor on this issue of transformation and the name change and all of that. And so it forced the institution of the SRC, which for a very long time had been very lethargic and very, part of the management actually. And it forced that institution to begin to take the views of a certain, type of body in this institution, to take that type of body seriously.
After hearing the views on BSM, we spoke to Tembani, a member of the organization, about what the movement is really about and what it aims to teach the young people who may also feel excluded by the institution.
BSM doesn't teach people to be angry or to control their anger. It teaches people to stand for whatever they think that is right for themselves. And if they can't be suppressed anymore, it teaches them that you need to say, this is enough, you can't do this to me anymore now. You see, it teaches people to challenge what they think is right, to challenge what they think is actually normal.
Rhodes University was at a standstill after students barricaded all the entrances of the university and brought classes to a halt. They were protesting over 50% minimum initial payment of 45,000 that is paid in January, and also the 10% fee increase. Students say that these fees are way too high to a point where some students can't afford to come back the following year. The protest began with a small movement called Purple Fee and other movements such as the Black Students Movement, the Black Lawyers Association, SASCO, EFF and NEHAO later joined in. They united to make sure that these demands have been met.
I mean, we have hundreds and thousands of students here today. The amount of pressure that is on management to actually do something about the fees, to make education accessible to everybody in South Africa, I think it's going to make a difference. I think it's already made a difference. It's just now about putting more pressure to actually get what we need in order to get more students here at Rhodes.
Until management actually responds in a manner that is going to be satisfactory to the student population of Rhodes University, and Department of Higher Education responds in a satisfactory manner to South African students in general, this is going to be the order of the day, at least until management agrees to at least sit with us and discuss many of the pertinent issues that are raised by students.
Some students have said to be afraid to join the movement, which brings a question of, does the institution target those who are part of the movement? Sia talks about what she thinks are the consequences of speaking against the institutional culture.
I fear for how long this institution is going to accommodate me, because it's easy to come back next year and say the lack of funds. Rhodes University management, they can target anyone, any vulnerable person. It's easy to target someone that you know depends on the system.
Students state that dealing with issues the normal way has not done them any justice. Instead, they have been ignored by the university. But the use of protest has brought change because action has been taken for many issues that the students have complained about.
You will send an email to Dr. Vasulo or Dr. Sfori. Most likely they will reply to it in 5 days. Why the problem is still carrying on. So normal ways of speaking, setting up for meetings, and they can say things that they want you to hear and you're going to believe.
The thing is, you can't dismantle a master with the master's weapon.
The biggest challenge that comes when you are bringing such an important issue of transformation into such an institution is that you are going to obviously deal with a lot of people who are going to be resistant to change. So at Rhodes University, it's not only the management that is resistant to change, it's also students who are resistant to change.
In this case, young people are shaping the course and the trajectory of transformation in this country.
So that the old habits, the old thinking, the old way of seeing things, of Rhodes as this purple culture, this nice space and all of that, that kind of thinking still refuses to die. And this one of Rhodes that must be seen as a site of struggle is slowly being born, but it's being born in the process of resistance from everyone, the student body, the management, society in South Africa as well. The institution of the Department of Higher Education as well is also not necessarily the most progressive of institutions as well.
Tembani continues to state how using protest has actually gained attention to the issues that students have not been happy with for many years now.
If you are trying to make sure of the issue that it is heard and it is being handled and it will be concluded very soon, you must make sure that even the strategies that you use, they are the strategies that will enforce the institution to respond urgently to the issue.
But I don't think that on the basis of that resistance, that the struggle of BSM and the struggle of all working class black people in particular will never be won. I think that this is a very legitimate struggle and it might take a very, very long time. I know for a fact that I'm going to be at Rhodes for the next 3 years, but I can assure you there will be very little transformation that happens in 3 years. So I think what we must understand is that this is not a struggle of the now. This is a struggle that is a historical struggle, like I said, but it's a struggle that is also very long term. So it's going to take us quite some time for us to arrive at a point where we have made significant revolutionary gains that are tangible, that we can touch and see and say this is what has happened. It's not an instant gratification type of struggle, and anybody who thinks it is very badly mistaken.